What if every trip you take could be more than a vacation? What if it could be a masterclass in seeing the world differently? What if it could be a way to connect and create meaning through photography? This is the story of my trip to the country of Georgia, where I traveled with my daughter, told entirely through the lens of a limited camera bag. Before we dive in, and if you're new here, hi, I'm Rebecca. This channel is about meaningful photography, not just how to take technically correct images, but how to improve, elevate, and deepen your photography so that what you create actually means something to you and to the people who see your work. Yes, we'll talk about gear, technique, tips, and settings. That's all part of it. But the overarching concept here is always meaning. If that speaks to you, I'd love for you to join us. Subscribe, drop a comment, be part of our community. We're all learning together. My daughter planned this entire trip. She had been to Georgia recently with her husband and kids, and she wanted to share what she saw, not just with me, but for me as a photographer, as a storyteller with my lens. She mapped it out knowing that capturing images is core to how I experience the world. But here's what made it special. We designed this trip around both of our needs: time together, running, eating together, the healthy foods we like, good coffee, deep conversations, and time on our own. Space for me to photograph, for her to walk, for each of us to think, to be alone without pressure. That balance, that was the foundation of a really meaningful travel photography tip. Because if you're stressed or rushed or resentful of the time you don't have, your images most likely will reflect that. Now, here's the twist. I left all of my prime lenses at home. If you've been following this channel, you know I'm a prime lens advocate. I've done videos on shooting with only 35 millimeters, only 50 millimeters. Prime lenses, they have their advantages. They force you to see, to move, to simplify in ways that zoom lenses can't. And I still believe that. But for this trip, I brought only zoom lenses, 3 of them. My Sony 16-25 lens f2.8, my Sony 24-70 G Master f2.8, my Sony 70-200 f4, and I'm going to explain why and what I learned. Of course, I'll put affiliate links in the description if anyone is interested in ordering any of these lenses. I love every single one of them. But why zoom lenses? Why did I only bring the zoom lenses? Because I knew I'd be photographing mountains, people, streets, waterfalls, and lots of landscapes. This trip was about more flexibility than minimalism. Unlike going out on an outing from home, where I could say, I'm only going to take 1 prime lens today, and tomorrow if I need, on my next outing, I'll bring a different lens. No, here I was overseas. I couldn't go back and forth. I didn't have that same flexibility. I had to be prepared for anything. Now, I didn't carry all 3 lenses with me every day. Usually, most of the time, I had the 24-70 almost exclusively. Sometimes I brought the 70-200 just to capture, for example, photos straight from my hotel room, beautiful mountain views, mist over valleys or over the river in the distance. Those images were only possible with the 70-200. There's also the balance between a pristine landscape with nobody in it. I wanted to just get the landscape, and some with the human presence. We've talked about this before. We want to decide on every image, do we want to include people or just let the landscape speak for itself? The 24-70 f2.8 G Master 2 by Sony is a powerhouse. This was my main lens. It's fast, it's sharp, and it's perfect for storytelling. When you're moving between wide and less wide compositions, this is the lens that I would take on certain trips if I could only carry 1 lens on this trip. Like today, like this trip, it really covers everything. An added note, I chose to only bring 1 camera body, though it might have given me even more versatility in that I could have had 2 different zooms of varying focal lengths on each camera. I didn't want to be weighted down. I didn't want it to become a burden. I wanted to enjoy the photography. We drove, after we landed in Tbilisi, into the Kazbeki region. It's very mountainous, dramatic, and remote. We stayed at 2 different hotels in that area so that we could access different locations and different light. One morning, we even ran in the flat valley just outside the village of Snow. Open space, fresh air, farm areas, animals, cows, horses, the kind of freedom we don't really see, or the openness in everyday city life. In landscape photography, especially when traveling, you don't always know what you're walking into. The 16-25 millimeter gave me those wide, sweeping vistas, many layers in the distance, mountains, valleys opening up. But I really couldn't use it all the time, especially if the sky was boring, because it's such a wide angle lens, it takes in a lot of the sky. So most often, as I said, I used my 24-70. But sometimes I wanted to compress the mountains or isolate a single peak or capture a certain detail from far away. That's where the 70-200 came in. No big deal that it's an f4. Sometimes I kept my compositions clean, untouched, pure nature. Other times I included people, my daughter or other tourists, because their presence gave scale and context and gave a story element to the image. The mountains are beautiful, the vistas and the landscapes are beautiful, but a person standing in front of the mountain experiencing awe or telling us something about the scene, that could be very meaningful. To summarize, the 24-70 pretty much never left my side. It is sharp, versatile, and fast, and it became my default lens. If I could only take that one lens, it would be enough, as opposed to having a prime lens and traveling very lightweight. I also had my DJI Osmo 2 and my GoPro Hero 10 to document behind the scenes moments and what was happening. I'd like to just interject a quick technical note that I should have mentioned in my previous videos on the fixed lenses, when we talked about the 50mm or the 35mm, and of course when we'll get to 85mm. Those measurements, those numbers, are based on full frame sensors. If you're shooting with a crop sensor camera, you'll need to adjust. Divide the focal length you want by your camera's crop factor to find the actual lens or focal length you'll need for that camera. For example, if you want the 35mm field of view on a crop sensor with a 1.5 crop factor, you'll need a 24mm lens. I just wanted to clarify that to anyone who was wondering why the numbers didn't quite match their experience. I did address this in a post after I realized that there was some confusion. So again, I apologize, and I hope that clears things up. This trip wasn't just about photography. It was about time together and about having space to be ourselves, together and separately. One of the most unexpected gifts of this trip was the people. Every hotel staff member, every driver we met, there was warmth, a genuine kindness that moved us. Georgia isn't just beautiful visually, it's beautiful humanly. As photographers, especially when traveling, we have a responsibility. We're guests in someone else's home, someone else's country. And yet I wanted to capture the flavor of this place, the faces, the interactions, the everyday moments. But I never wanted to invade. So I used sometimes longer focal lengths when appropriate. But I also really wanted to capture the authentic people and catch them in their environment without bothering them. I sometimes made eye contact, I smiled, sometimes I asked permission when it felt right, and sometimes I just took the photo on a wide aperture if people didn't know or didn't seem to mind. I really love those authentic moments the best. If someone gave me the impression or made it clear, as happened, that they did not want their photo taken, I didn't take it. This is the tension every travel photographer faces. How do we document without exploiting? How do we capture authenticity without intrusion? We have it in our hometowns also. For me, it starts with respect and sometimes might have to end with restraint. But for the most part, I got what I wanted. I did want to catch some market moments as much as I could, authentic faces and people. And for the most part, people were very, very nice about it. I would have loved, obviously, more time and more places, but we were limited on the trip. Our last day and a half we spent in the city of Tbilisi because we had to take off from there. That's the capital. It wasn't the main goal of the trip, but we had to fly out of there. There was time for street photography and also some landscape photography. There's beautiful bridges. You'll see the Bridge of Peace and some beautiful places to catch a vista of the whole city. We explored the city and of course we did some shopping. Here's one regret I'll admit, that I didn't bring that small 35mm f.2 fixed lens, the Sony Zeiss lens, in the city for the full day we were there. That would have been my choice. It's lighter, it's less bulky, and it's more discreet. Now, as we know, street photography in some ways is about blending in, moving quickly, staying invisible and inconspicuous. And even though the 24-70 zoom obviously has a 35mm focal length there, and it's an amazing lens, it's still noticeable. It's heavy and it's bulky, but here's the thing, and I've taught this on our channel over and over. We work with what we have. I didn't have that 35mm lens, which would not have been such a big deal to pack, so I used the 24-70. Did I get the shots I wanted? For the most part, yes. Was it ideal? Maybe not. But ideal is the enemy of getting something done, and it afforded me different focal lengths. The 70 to 200 millimeter stayed at the hotel most days. It was too big and too conspicuous and not needed for the street photography work. I certainly didn't want to carry something that was that heavy. But for those landscape shots from my hotel or from outside in different landscape situations with the mist in the river, I was so pleased that I brought it. So what did I learn from shooting only with zoom lenses after preaching in the last few videos the gospel of prime lenses? Well, prime lenses teach us to see. They force us to make decisions, they simplify our process, they make us move. They're incredible tools for creative constraints, and I still recommend them, especially if you're just learning and you're trying to develop your eye, or if you want to slow down, or if you just want to travel really light, or on a day outing, just carry one lens. In general, every outing we do is to see, to experience new places, or the same places in different lights, pun intended. New people, exploring and creating. My goal and our goal is to create the story as best as we can. Photography gives us a way to hold on to these moments, not only to freeze them, but to be able to feel them again when we look at them and give them over to other people. I feel that my goal is best achieved by using zoom lenses when I'm going on a longer trip or a farther trip, especially traveling internationally, because you don't know what you'll encounter and what you'll need. And that flexibility can really matter. You can't always move closer. You can't always back up. Sometimes that moment is fleeting and you need to adjust quickly, and the zoom up allows for that. The truth is, both approaches are valid. Both have value. Zoom lenses, prime lenses. The key is knowing why you're choosing one method over the other, why you might be choosing a zoom over a prime or a prime lens over a zoom. I chose the zooms for this trip because I knew I'd be shooting diverse subjects, the wide landscapes, the compressed peaks, intimate street moments, and I couldn't afford or didn't want to afford to miss those shots because I had the wrong lens on, or I couldn't go back to my house to get the lens that I needed. But as I said, and I admitted, in the city of Tbilisi for the street photography, I would have loved having just that simple 35 millimeter prime lens. It's lighter and faster, but it's okay. I probably gained some extra shots with the 24x70, and we learn by doing. We adjust, we adapt. Great photography isn't about the gear, or it certainly isn't only about the gear. It's about being present, being intentional, and aiming to tell our story the best way we can. On this trip, I wanted to say, look at this beauty, look at these connections, look at these people, look at this new country, new to me, this area, and maybe new to you. Look what happens when you travel with purpose, with someone you love. Of course, you can also go on your own. Our lenses are just tools. The meaning comes from everything else. I wanted to share this with you, something I've been feeling. I've been reading your comments as I do on all the videos, and I comment on every comment that I see. But especially in the last few videos on fixed lenses, especially 35 millimeters, I loved the comments. There were so many, and I loved responding and getting responses back. Now, some of you were, let's say, very passionate about my suggestion to shoot with just one focal length, or even maybe about my title where you can do everything with one lens. So I'd like to clarify, because maybe it wasn't totally clear in the videos. I am absolutely not saying that one lens is better than multiple lenses, or that you should never use zooms. As you've seen throughout this trip to Georgia, zooms are incredible tools. They cover vast ground and they give us great flexibility. Whether it's in travel or even the event photography that I do and some of you guys do, every focal length and every prime or zoom has its advantages and its limitations. The purpose of those single focal length videos was simply to show you that when circumstances require it, however it happens, and you can only carry one lens, you're trying to travel lighter, you want less decision fatigue, or this is what you were left with at that moment, whatever the reason, you can manage. A 35 millimeter isn't exactly great for wildlife photography, and a 600 millimeter isn't necessarily great for wide landscape images. But we can always adapt, especially with the 35 and the 50. We can create beautiful, meaningful work within constraints. It's not about restriction for restriction's sake. It's about building confidence and creative resourcefulness and learning how to manage. I hope that makes sense, and I'm really grateful that all you guys cared enough to engage. Even if we might disagree, here and there. So this trip was not just about photography, it was about connection. My daughter and I designed this experience to honor both of us, our time together, our time apart, runs in the valley, coffee in the morning, conversations, and space to be alone without any of the guilt or pressure. That balance made everything possible. I could photograph with focus and intention because I wasn't worried, and she could explore on her own, and it gave me the freedom to be on my own. If you're planning a photography trip, whether it's international or just a day away from home or somewhere local, ask yourself, what do I want to capture? What do I want to tell? What gear will serve that goal? Don't bring primes out of dogma. Don't bring zooms out of laziness. Be intentional, know what you want to capture, and figure out what will be the best way to do it. So, plan a trip, a photography trip with someone, a partner, a friend, a parent or child, or go alone. Build in time together and time apart. Shoot with purpose and send me one image that captures not just what you saw, but what you felt. You can email it to me at photos@imagesthroughtime.com. Put in the subject line YouTube live image if you would like, and then I can hopefully feature it in one of our next YouTube lives. Check the community tab or the post tab for the exact date and time in November where we'll do a live. And if you do send me the email, give me your details, your name, where it was taken, when, what the photo meant to you, and something about the photo. If all of this resonates, please subscribe. Join us as we keep exploring how photography can become meaningful, not just because of the gear that we carry, but because of how we choose to see and express that vision. We'll be exploring all kinds of ideas in photography, more travel photography, and I'd love to hear your ideas. And it is always going to lead back to meaning in photography. So subscribe for more reflections, tutorials, and challenges, and on finding that meaning and elevating your photography skills. Also, if you want to take your individual work deeper, I offer one-on-one Zoom sessions. You can email me at photos@imagesthroughtime.com, and I'll send you all the details. All the equipment I mentioned in this video, I will link with affiliate links in the description. I also wanted to share another product that I sell. It's my greeting cards. I have 3 separate packs of 8 different images, 5x7 or 13x18 centimeters with matching envelopes. Each pack is 8 separate images of a flip open card, and I'd love if anyone would be interested. It's $24.90 and we can mail it to you. Please let me know in the comments what you'd like to hear more of, what you'd like to learn more about. Follow me on Instagram where we can also share our photos, Rebecca Co-Photo, and we can look at each other's images and keep our conversation going. And I will see you in the next video.